just think about how you approached me with it. You said, I gotta talk to you. Of course, we have to see Dr. Laurel. We gotta see her separately. You were looking for me to go since you saw her last time by yourself. You called Nathan, and he told you that this week doesn't look good because there's so much shit going on as it is.
Yeah, well, I connected Laurel and Nathan so that he could plan it for you, or he could schedule you. And then when I got that text from him today saying it would have to be next week, I guess, I said to you, can we talk about this, because it's twofold. One, I have to plan to go see her too, you know? So it does.
Well, that's never going to conflict, because whenever you...
Well, it does, because here's why it does. It's a marriage... She's a marriage counselor, and if I'm going to see her by myself only, it's completely pointless and redundant.
Why?
That's because she's not my counselor. The client is the marriage, right? So it does no good for me to be the only one that goes, if that's what it's going to turn out to be. And because I have been the last one to go several times by myself, I think I've seen her now 2 or 3 times.
Have you really? By yourself?
Yeah, probably maybe 2 times. And then, I called her. So yeah, like 3 times if you count the phone, like a proper phone thing. And if I'm the only one that continues to do that, then it is redundant. You know what I mean? It's kind of pointless since the client is the marriage. It can't just be me. That's why I said it affects me.
So you mean if you continue to do it, and I don't do it, that's redundant? Because she's a marriage counselor. Is that what you're saying? The client is the marriage. You just said that if you keep doing it, it's redundant.
Like there's no point in there's no point in only one person going to a marriage counselor.
Exactly. So you're already saying right there in that, you've written it off in your head that I won't do it.
No.
So then why would you say just you doing it is redundant? That's implying that only one person is going to see this lady.
No, I'm explaining why it's redundant for only one person to see this lady.
But I never talked about one person only seeing this lady.
I know.
Then why are we talking about it? Because why are we talking about that?
I don't know. You seem to be... we're talking about it, I guess, because you seem to be upset that I asked you if you were going to make this a priority. Because I know your schedule is busy, but if it...
No, you didn't ask me if I was going to make this a priority. You said, is this a priority?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Is this a priority?
I'm not quite sure how those are different, but I'm sorry you see that one is...
Well, they're
different.
very different things.
Okay. I'm sorry that I said...
Don't get wound up.
I'm not wound up. I'm absolutely not wound up at all.
Okay.
Am I yelling at you or calling you names or?
No. I can hear your voice change.
Yeah. I have expressions and feelings, but I'm not upset or attacking you.
I didn't say you were. I just said don't get wound up. That's all.
I'm not wound up.
Okay. Well, listen. All I'm saying is, you asked if it was a priority to me. I said it was. And you said, okay, then we have to you gotta get this, you gotta do the appointments, you gotta make this work, you gotta, whatever. You gotta take the time, your whole day is not taken up by these other things, when in fact there is a large amount of my day taken up by these various things that are going on within the next week or so.
No doubt. Yeah, I know. And I know you're busy.
And so...
that's why I asked if you were going to make it a priority in that sense that...
You didn't ask if I was going to make it a priority. You asked if it was a priority.
Okay,
to me.
I guess what I'm saying is, in me saying if it is a priority, what I'm asking you or saying in that is, will you make this a priority in your day? By me saying, is it a priority? That's what I'm asking. So
If it's a priority, Amber, I don't need to make it a priority.
You-
It is a priority, and I'm going to try and work out a time when I can go see the woman.
Okay.
It's difficult to pin down, and I can't give you a date this
I
very
wasn't
second.
expecting a
And
date.
that's what this is all about.
No, it's not.
Well,
You got upset that I asked you this question, and I have been trying to understand why. Because I'm just trying to understand. Remember, that's why we started talking. I said, I feel like you're getting upset because maybe, oh, yeah, you think I'm saying you fucked up. You know, I was trying to understand why you were upset by that question. That's all.
What I was saying, that
You
whole
were the
thing.
one who was upset.
I
not
don't.
me.
I don't feel like it was. I don't feel like it's like. Well, I guess it is prejudgment, only in the sense that it exists within you already. It's not something that just happens, you know. I miss an appointment or something, and you go, well, of course you fucking did. That kind of deal, you know. It was expected, you know.
Okay.
So it's expected,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
So let's forget the prejudgment or whatever. It's just expected that, you know, if you just leave it to me, I won't get it done. Therefore, you feel you have to take it.
Did I
into
say
your
that?
hands. No, but that's kind of what it is.
I'm sorry you felt that way. I am. That sucks to feel.
Well, just understand, if you want to know really if this is a priority for me, then why don't you just sit back and let me do what I do, and you see if I take care of it. If I don't take care of it, then you got your answer.
I will absolutely do just that, because I don't have any other choice but to do just that. But that still doesn't mean I can't ask my husband if you're going to make something a priority that I have made myself and that you have promised to make, and that knowing you're busy and that you juggle a lot of things and your focus has to be on so many different things, I can ask you. I have every right to ask you, my husband, if you're going to make something a priority without it becoming a 45-minute fight about semantics and inferences and judgments.
Semantics. If this is semantics, baby, then our entire existence is going to be a fucking
I would love
just
to
a
get
back and
into
forth.
the existential kind of, like, you know, or fatalistic conversation with you, but I don't feel like it's helpful.
I'm not existentialist about it. I'm not fatalistic about it. I'm being realistic, and I'm being as honest as I can.
Okay.
You know, I'm being as honest as I know how to be. You know, and that is to say that it is a priority to me. As I said when you asked if it was a priority, I will make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Which means, I suppose, I will make the priority a priority. You know?
Okay.
And then,
That's all I asked. I mean, but I
can-
have been talking to you about it since. In a way that has been trying to diffuse how upset you got about that question.
How upset? I didn't get upset.
You got really defensive and kind of aggressive with me.
No. When?
Okay.
When you asked me if it was a priority?
Okay, well, that maybe I should have said that's how I felt. And
I know how you feel.
Okay, so I feel like that, and I also feel like I can't be expected to be in, nor would you want me to be, in a relationship that somehow is, like a, you know, a major offense. Beautiful watch, by the way.
Okay.
Like that's somehow a major offense because I asked you if it's a priority.
It's
You're
not.
not a tyrant, you know. It's not like I can't. I want to feel like I don't have to walk on eggshells, and I can have the freedom to, you know, that we can have the freedom to, like, say normal things to one another. Like, hey, I care about this thing that you promised me. Are you going to do it? Even though that might be, even at best, or at worst, annoying to you, that's got to be okay without it becoming this. And I've been trying to diffuse it since it started, by trying to understand what made you so upset. It's one of the first things I said in this conversation is, I'm going to try really hard to understand why you're so... I said, oh, I understand why... I'm trying to understand why you're upset. If it's simply because I asked you if you're going to, like, do this thing, and you felt as though that was prejudging you, then there's got to be a better way for you to tell me how you feel.
But don't you think it is?
Pardon?
Don't you think it is prejudging?
No, I think prejudging would be not to bother asking, but that's my honest answer. I think it says a lot that I thought I could ask you. I'm giving you...
I'm not saying you can't ask me.
Right?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying
your actions have told me that, though. It's been a 45-minute talk that I think neither one of us can wait to get out of. And it shouldn't be like that, just to... Even if it had annoyed you for some reason, it shouldn't become this.
If Nathan tells you that this week is going to be difficult,
Mm-hmm.
and that upsets you...
It didn't upset me at all. It did not upset me at all. Not at all. I was...
Then why were you saying that next week's not good or okay?
I had a conversation with you in the same tone, if not lighter, than I am now. How could you say it upset me? I gave you zero indication to feel like it upset me. I said explicitly and implicitly both that I wasn't upset, that I was attempting to have a conversation with you because I understood you were busy and handling a lot of things.
And you wanted to know when I could see the lady.
I didn't say when. I was not expecting you to know your schedule at all, nor would I ever.
Mike, that's why I said yes. I said to you, I got to look at the schedule. I got to look at...
That's what you said, but I certainly didn't ask you for a time or any sort of indication of when you would go. I asked if it was a priority. It was a broader question.
Right, and I answered the question.
Okay, but you just said I was asking you for when you were going to go, and I'm clarifying that I did not.
Okay.
Because that's the foolish thing. That's part of why I asked you if it was a priority, is because I know you're dealing with a lot. I would never expect you to know your own schedule.
Yeah, no, I don't. Oh, no. Oh, piddle. Oh, piddle. Piddles. I told you. I told. Okay.
I'm sorry you felt judged by that question, but I wasn't.
No,
You're very sensitive to me.
I'm a very sensitive fucking person. I don't know what to say.
But you've got really thin skin about maybe me thinking you're a fuck up. I didn't even have to say you were or that I thought that for you to feel that way.
No, you don't.
I hope one day you can give me a little bit more credit, or maybe assume I have less of a problem, as you said. This is about me having a problem, not you. Even though I didn't say you had one.
No, I think the only problem is that there is a prejudgment. Doesn't exist. You just automatically. It's automatic. It's built in.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that
you think that I won't remember or I'll fuck it up or something like that. And
I didn't say that you would fuck it up, but the irony here that you miss is that you're making that judgment on me. That's what I think is amazing that you miss every time, is the irony that you're so sensitive to judgment yourself or being told you fucked up when you then in the same sentence, as I pointed out earlier, will turn that around and make a judgment on someone else.
Okay.
Well, which is what you're doing when you say it's my problem, even though.
Well, I guess our feelings are based on experience. Mine are based on experience. Yours are based on experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you talk to Nathan?
No, I just had put him in email contact with Laurel.
So you didn't talk to him after he said we can't?
No.
The dates aren't good, or?
No. No, I didn't.
What did you do?
Let me see. Yeah, no.
No? Okay. Well, let me take care of it. I'll talk with Nathan. I'll talk with Dr. Laurel or whatever. I'll figure it out. Figure out when I can get there. I'll get there for sure.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. That's all I'm saying.
soon. I gotta
When I look at them now, you know,
I gotta meet with Christy and probably doctors.
I think probably to please Karina's parents
Well,
or her
Betty Sue.
family more. Newly married at the
But I need to
tender
talk to
age
Christy
of
about,
21,
obviously,
Karina left her family and all that was familiar behind.
what the fuck
and
is gonna
started a new
happen.
life with her new husband.
Sorry.
I really respected the choice that she made to come up here, leave all her family.
Nathan
come to
said
the
your meeting was
country,
canceled today, too. I don't know if you
and
knew
don't
that.
speak the language.
Oh, yeah,
not
there was
familiar with the
a
culture. How did she adjust to life here in the States?
what was it about? Happy. It was about the
completely different. She
happy.
was nervous and like a stranger in a strange land.
While going to school to learn English, the newlywed was completely dependent on her husband. And so he helped her a lot and kind of guided her at the beginning. Karina devoted herself to learning everything she could about life in America. And she was particularly devoted to building her life with David.
Karina really wanted to be a mother. It was something that she knew almost her whole life. She wanted to be a mom, and she was really good at it.
In 1996, they had their first child, a son. A few years later, their daughter was born. As the couple was starting their family, David was also starting his career. He took a job as a language teacher at the University of California, San Diego.
And I'll see you later tonight.
Financially,
Okay.
just
You
kinda
taking off?
starting off, it was a little bit of
Yeah,
a struggle.
I
They
was,
had a lot of
I was
money, but
gonna
they had, enough to
just
pay the bills and,
hanging out with
and
you
everything.
until
It seemed Karina was actually living the life she had always dreamed of as a little girl in Mexico. From the perfect husband, they had great plans for this place, to the perfect home that David spent years saving up for. She wanted this house. She wanted this house, and David, you know, made every effort to get
I
this
was
house for them, and
hanging
they
out.
did. They were just the ideal
I
family.
was hanging out. You said that you were gonna read and
thought
stuff, so
so, and just,
put-
you know,
I mean,
thought what a wonderful family.
Yeah,
I
no.
can't move some things
deceiving,
around.
as revealed
I'm
in
gonna see
Karina's
if I can't
letters
just
to her mother.
do them now because
Sometimes I
didn't
don't
know
know
you were
why I married him.
I'm not leaving right
wrote
this
Karina.
second, but
I'm in despair.
I would put some makeup on the hickey.
thanks.
What's wrong?
Nothing. If you want that,
As Karina Ditto was fighting for her life,
I'll wait.
It's just a
David
little
Ditto
gift.
was
I'll wait for you.
described to first responders
Why?
in events
I
leading
mean,
up to
I don't have any.
immediately after his wife's
sorry.
horrifying accident.
I don't have anything
Earlier
like
that evening, the kids went to bed.
huge.
Then Karina and David settled in for the
But
night to
you have a
watch
whole stack
Braveheart,
of them,
one
and
of
they kind of make
Karina's
me sad
favorites.
seeing them downstairs. It just
Got her
feels really
snacks
like
and candy and
shitty to
chips
me
and
as a
drinks and
human.
stuff.
feels like
And
really
we were watching a movie.
Well, we haven't had a moment where either one of us has said, "Hey, why don't we do this?"
I'm just telling you how I feel. I
know.
hope you don't feel judged.
Karina
Sorry if you
went
do.
upstairs. David returned to the living room.
I was just
What
telling you how I
happened
feel.
next was simply unthinkable.
I know, but if that's how you feel, why don't you say, "Hey, let's sit down and open these things"?
I tried.
You did when?
Bang, bang,
Like
bang,
this
bang,
morning,
coming
I did a couple
downstairs.
days ago.
And I jumped
It's
up
okay.
and ran over and
You're right. We haven't really had a lot of time.
laying at the foot of the stairs. And
That's
she
kind of
wasn't
why I brought
moving,
that
wasn't
upstairs.
talking.
David says he grabbed Karina
I mean,
and
that's
pulled her
kinda
away from the stairs.
why
Kneeling by her side, he shook her. When she didn't respond,
That's why I
began CPR.
brought that upstairs because I thought we had a
Karina
moment. We
started
had a moment,
moving.
you know.
She was grabbing on
I
her,
I thought we
pulled herself up, and I was
would
holding
too.
her up.
It's just
And then she just stopped moving. She just kind of collapsed and was
got onto
laying
the
there,
road it wants to be on, I
lifeless
suppose.
in
I
my
don't know.
arms, and I didn't know what to do.
I'll open
I
it.
laid her back
I'll
down,
open it with you.
and
Open it with you
I don't know
later.
if I started doing CPR again or not, but I realized that I just didn't know what was happening to her.
And that is when David made that 911 call. It was just after midnight.
Let me
First
know if I can do
responder Lisa
anything
Challenger was on duty.
We were expecting to see a follow.
with Betty soon. Shit, I'm sorry you're dealing with that.
Karina's
I'm here
heart
for you
had
if you need
stopped,
it.
and she was covered in her own blood from a gash to the back of her head. The amount of blood surprised the experienced paramedic. But it was the location of Karina's body
Try
that
and
immediately made her suspicious.
The
I'm gonna
stairway was
see if
here,
I can still do my
and
meeting. I
the
probably
patient was over
be
here,
able
so
to,
you don't
but
fall down the
Why
stairway
do
and
it
then
now?
bounce around the corner.
Late.
From the blood pattern around Karina
because
to these
if you're leaving,
scratches
then
on
that
David's
was the
face.
only reason I
He
stayed.
said that
home.
when he was doing
Because
CPR at
we
one point, she had
were
come back
so-
too, and then he got the scratches on his face from that.
Lisa felt the
get it
scene
done.
actually suggested
Well, I
there
probably-
had
I don't
been
know if
an
I can.
intense
I have to
struggle,
email them.
and that David's story didn't add up.
She had so much blood on her face that if he had put his mouth over her mouth, he would have had her blood on his face.
Given their concerns about David's behavior and the suspicious nature of the
I don't want
scene,
to walk away
first
for saying
responders
something.
called the
Oh,
police.
no, I'm okay.
But
Sorry.
here at the house that night, David repeatedly told them Karina's injuries were the result of a fall down the stairs. So
Thank you for
police
breakfast.
allowed him to leave the scene to be at his wife's side at the hospital. What the cops didn't know at the time is that over the years, there had been problems in the Ditto's marriage. When you fought, would it get verbally abusive?
There's only one time that I could recall, and it was, more than 10 years ago. Karina and I were arguing about something, and she was really upset, and she asked, I just want to know one thing. I want to know if I make you sick, or if I'm sickening to you. And I just said yes.
One of the few people who knew about the problems in David and Karina's relationship was Karina's mother. He wants to tell me what spoons I should use when it's time to eat. He wants to tell me how much water I should use to water the plants. He punishes me with money. He takes it away for months. Karina confided in letters to her mother that David had become impossible to live with and that she wanted to leave. There's times that I don't even want to speak to him. I don't want him to touch me. I have to tell him that sometimes I can't stand the situation.
Would she have described you as controlling of her?
I don't think so. She had freedom to, do the things that she wanted to.
Were you strict with her about what she spent and where she spent it?
We were on a tight budget at times, and I managed the finances. So we didn't have a lot of money sometimes to spend on clothes or, going out to eat and things like that.
Did you make her pay you back for diapers and other goods for the kids?
I don't think so. I honestly don't remember for sure. I don't think so.
By 2009, their marriage had reached a breaking point.
I said, well, maybe we should look into separating, because she was clear that she didn't want things to continue the way things were.
But David Ditto wasn't about to give up on all that he'd invested in his marriage and asked Karina for a second chance.
And what did you ask for a second chance to do? What did you want another chance at?
To do the things that she said that she missed from the way things were before.
According to David, their relationship did improve, but he noticed a change in Karina.
Did you feel like you were in charge of the relationship and now suddenly she was trying to be in charge?
I wouldn't say suddenly, but yeah, she was taking charge of some things.
Taking charge and continuing to assert her independence. For the first time in 15 years, Karina got a job working at a nearby department store. She was making money and friends.
She was very nice. One of the nicest friends I've ever met.
She struck up a relationship with a young coworker named Jonathan Moda.
So you were friends?
Yes.
Did you have a flirtatious relationship as well?
Yes. It was flirtatious, but in like a fun way. It was just playful banter, just sexual jokes here and there and stuff like that.
Moda says their flirting never got physical, but it did get personal.
Did you ever text her a particular picture of your private parts?
Yes, I did.
Why?
She asked for it.
Moda also made suggestive comments on one of Karina's Facebook photos, comments that David read.
The comment was something like, how about you and me? Or how about you and me, girl? Or how about you and me, baby? Or something like that.
Did you think there was anything going on between them?
No.
But just a few months before, Karina's mother, Sylvia, says David worried that she was going to leave him. In August 2010, while visiting the family, Sylvia says her son-in-law turned to her for help, something David strongly denies.
Él lloraba mucho. He cried a lot and said Karina wanted to leave him. He told me that I have a lot of influence over my daughter and wanted me to speak with her and plead for her not to leave him. So I told her, give him another chance, my love.
The next time time Sylvia would see her daughter was 7 months later. She says David only told her that Karina had been in an accident. It wasn't until she saw with her own eyes the seriousness of the situation.
I began to hug her, talking to her, telling her to please open her eyes.
After being in a coma for 2 days, Karina's life came to an end.
Were you there when they took her off life support?
Yes.
Did it seem impossible to you that your healthy wife had fallen down the stairs and now she was gone
Yes.
from a fall?
It was unthinkable. Shocking, surprising.
Equally shocking, however, is what David Ditto did just 15 minutes before his beloved wife was taken off life support. With his cell phone, David took this photo of his once stunning wife, Karina. She'd been covered with paintings of her own handprints, and it was for a reason, says San Diego prosecutor Claudine Ruiz.
The only reason that I could come up with for why David Ditto took that photograph was as a trophy. To remember what he had done to her.
That he had the final word.
He controlled her life and he controlled her death.
What do you think caused Karina Ditto's injuries? Chat now on Facebook and Twitter.
I know what happened that night, and I know that I didn't kill her. I know that she fell down the stairs, and she obviously hit her head and hurt her head.
For veteran San Diego homicide detective J.C. Smith, Karina Ditto's brutally bruised body told a different story.
Karina had many bruises all over her body, and she had a laceration in the back of her head. She also had bruising and swelling to the front of her face, both of her eyes.
Smith says Karina struggled violently until the bitter end, so violent that it left marks on David Ditto.
That was consistent with domestic violence, with a fight, with a woman scratching and fighting for her life.
Reaching up and clawing?
Yes.
But if there was a violent struggle that night, wouldn't the commotion have woken up their 14-year-old son and 10-year-old daughter?
Both the children were upstairs sleeping. You would think that with all the noise of a struggle, with the paramedics coming, the firefighters responding with lights and siren, all these men coming in with equipment to work on a victim, children never woke up. And David had access to narcotics, and we thought possibly he used the drugs on his kids.
Did you give your children anything that night to make them sleep?
No, absolutely not.
And what do you think about that accusation? That's a pretty strong accusation because it clearly implies premeditation.
It's baseless, like most of the insinuations and accusations.
By now, detectives were having a tough time buying any part of Ditto's story.
So these are the stairs inside the Ditto home. Shows 11 carpeted and padded stairs with tile floor at the bottom.
I know that this photo obviously was taken a few months after the incident. Do you remember seeing any scuff marks along the side? The banister being pulled off, the railing having any sort of marks on it, any blood anywhere around here?
Just a few days after the homicide, we inspected the walls and the railing and the floors and the carpeting. There was nothing. No blood on the carpet at all. The railing was fine, no damage, no problems at all.
Investigators also say one of the most disturbing red flags was this large bruise found on Karina's thigh.
I think David stomped on her and kicked her. And that right there really made me and the other detectives think that we're dealing with an assault and not a fall.
Were you ever able to find a shoe that matched that in the house?
We didn't find a shoe that matched perfectly.
Detectives may have strongly suspected David Ditto was lying, but they needed more solid evidence. And they got it from the San Diego County Medical Examiner, Dr. Otha Mena, who says Karina Ditto did not accidentally fall down the stairs. Instead, Dr. Mena says she was beaten and strangled.
There were too many injuries to be explained by what we were told happened. Therefore, I have to find what it was the reason her heart stopped. And in my opinion, it's because she was asphyxiated, either by strangulation or by smothering, while also being beaten.
3 days later, David was arrested. Visibly shaken at his arraignment, David Ditto went from a grieving husband to a man charged with his wife's murder. David's mother, Pat, couldn't believe it.
When the judge stated that the medical examiner had said blunt force trauma and strangulation, we hadn't dreamed of that at all.
Before March 12, 2011, there was no known history of abuse. No physical abuse, that is.
In Karina Ditto's life, it was more about power and control. It wasn't until she started to break free from that relationship that he lost control.
San Diego County Prosecutor Claudine Ruiz.
But he was not the type of abuser who would lose his temper and beat his wife. He was a cold, calculating man. And he made the decision to kill her.
When you hear these words, violent, control, and
Well, there was
jealous.
no violence.
There was no violence.
These are not words that you associate with yourself.
Absolutely not.
Even the one person who knew Karina best had her doubts.
Karina's mother, Sylvia, believed David's story at first, until she returned here to La Paz and began to think about all those letters from Karina and all those bruises on her daughter's body. Eventually, and somewhat reluctantly, Sylvia had a change of heart about her son-in-law.
Why did he have the heart to cause a person so much harm? He could have returned her to me or divorced her, but not kill her.
Those letters may have suggested motive, but detectives believe it is the physical evidence that proves murder.
She had blood in her hair that had coagulated, and then the blood around her had already began to dry. So it's to mean that she had been down for a while. David had time to think about what he was going to do, if he needed to straighten up the house before the paramedics came, because he knew he was going to be under scrutiny.
And just like first responder Lisa Challenger, detectives were equally troubled by inconsistencies at the scene.
It's not consistent with the fall down the stairs, but all the blood, everything is 3-4 feet away from the bottom of the staircase.
Here's the most unexplainable element of that story to me.
Okay,
When you look at the pictures, at the bottom of the stairs,
yeah,
there is no blood.
that's wrong.
David's defense attorney, Keith Ruttman, argues it's absolutely plausible that Karina's head landed exactly where David says it did.
You're saying this is where she landed, and there is a blood splotch there.
Correct. And it depends upon how much blood you're looking at. Remember, if David is kneeling next to her, his pants had blood on them, that could have absorbed some of the blood. No one saw her fall, so you can't say how she fell down the stairs.
But every single one of the people that treated her and dealt with her, every single one of them said,
Right.
these injuries are inconsistent with a fall.
And every day you hear of medical events that no one has ever heard of before.
So you believe that every one of those people was wrong?
Yes?
Every one of those people.
Yes?
And you then believe this was just a freak accident?
Yes.
But no one other than David knows for sure what really happened that night.
Did you strangle her?
No.
He fooled people. People don't want to believe that there is that side, that dark side.
It's not me. It's not true.
Karina Ditto was 38 years old. She would have been 39 today.
As David Ditto's murder trial begins, prosecutor Claudine Ruiz wants the jury to focus in on the horrifying details of her version of this case.
She scratched at him with both hands, but he pinned her arms back, and he restrained her with his body. Then he slammed the back of her head, and her head started bleeding.
Ruiz marches witness after witness to the stand.
I do.
Forensic experts, first responders like Ray McQueen.
Based on that cardiac rhythm, that's a complete dead heart.
Witnesses make the case that Ditto's story of a fall down the stairs just didn't add up. Medic Lisa Challenger.
And so for somebody to have fallen onto to the tile surface, how come she was injured on both sides of her face and then the back of her head also?
But David's lawyer, Keith Ruttman, says the evidence points to an accident, refuting the police version of the scratches on David's face.
first element they say is it just does not make sense that somebody who's being given CPR would even be able to move their arms and reach up and scratch. Because that's why you're giving them CPR. They're not breathing, they're not moving.
Right, but David testified she came to, so at that point you would imagine that he would stop giving her CPR, giving her the freedom to move about.
Ruttman says investigators came to the wrong conclusions because they did a sloppy job.
If you're conducting a criminal investigation into a murder of your wife by a husband while his kids are upstairs sleeping, you have to do it right.
In court, he tries to show the jury that procedures were not followed. The right questions were not asked.
Did you ever hear anyone ask him to explain how the blood got all over her body?
No, I never heard anybody ask him that.
The biggest oversight, Ruttman tells the jury, was that the county medical examiner, Dr. Mena, did not have complete information when he examined Karina's neck.
And his immediate explanation is that's consistent with what we see in strangulation cases, so it must be strangulation.
What Mena didn't know, according to Ruttman, is that a resident doctor at the hospital accidentally punctured an artery in Karina's neck while trying to give her blood to revive her.
Never knew that arterial puncture had occurred, so was never able to discount that.
Ruttman says it was that puncture that caused her neck to bruise, not being strangled, as Dr. Mena testified. The puncture was discovered by Ruttman's star witness, renowned medical examiner Michael Baden.
He reviewed the autopsy report and he reviewed all the medical records from the hospital, and he was the one who first noticed that there was a potential contributing source of blood from the arterial puncture.
How does he believe Karina died?
Well, his testimony was actually to be technically correct about it, was that her injuries were consistent with a fall down the stairs.
But Dr. Mena says he was aware of the puncture.
The defense believes that the mistake of the resident is the hemorrhage that you saw, that you believed was strangulation.
No, it cannot be, because the two hemorrhages were separate. The hemorrhage that was because of the resident placing a line, that was down here by the clavicle.
Mm-hmm.
The hemorrhages that I saw were over here by the thyroid gland or by the voice box.
Karina's injuries tell a story, says Mena, about what happened to her that night.
What's the story you were able to piece together by the condition of her body?
Her body told me that she was beaten because she had way too many injuries to be explained by a fall downstairs.
And that is exactly what the jury heard him say.
But then Ruttman took a big gamble. He did something that is rarely done in a murder trial these days. He put David Ditto on the stand, so jurors could hear from David directly and judge for themselves if he was telling the truth.
Karina was here at the base of the stairs. Her head was on the tile floor. Her shoulders were flat on the tile floor.
And then he addresses a key point to the prosecution's case, how Karina's head got to where the blood was on the floor.
So I was holding her and I lifted up her head and shoulders and kind of just pulled her, and then just kind of took steps with my knees and pulled her several times until she was laying alongside the thing.
Did you try to give CPR to Karina?
Yes, I did.
Was she moving?
No, she wasn't.
Was she talking?
No, she wasn't. I lifted her up and held her in my arms. Just her head and her shoulders. And she said, honey, are you okay? I'm trying to wake her up.
Were you able to wake her up?
No.
David also got emotional when he acknowledged there were problems in his marriage, but said both he and Karina were working hard to save it.
We talked a lot and cried a lot. But she said yes, and she wanted to try again.
Jurors had to weigh David's testimony against that of Karina's mother, who told them of his controlling ways as described by her daughter.
For example, you water the plants at a certain time,
La comida a tales horas,
food at a certain time,
teléfono tenía tiempo para hablar a nosotros.
the phone, she had set time to talk to us, to call us.
Good afternoon.
In closing arguments, Ruttman tells jurors that even if there were problems in the Ditto's marriage, that is not enough evidence that he killed her.
What she would tell her mother, sometimes I feel like I want to be single again. Everybody feels that way. Everybody. At one point or another in your marriage, everybody feels that way.
And he says the fact that David Ditto's story is so odd is precisely why it had to be true.
You'd think if he planned all this, he'd have a better story put together. The blood would be in the right places. The injuries would be consistent with what he saw. That's not what he said.
And he backs up his point that it was a freak accident with some mathematics.
If it's a 1 in a million chance that Karina Ditto fell down the stairs and hit her head in just the right way, it's a 1 in a million chance. That means it happened to 311 people last year. 1,000 if it happens in China.
But Claudine Ruiz isn't buying any of it. She wants the jurors to believe it was cold-blooded murder.
This was no accident, and the bruises all over her body tell you that.
After 4 weeks of testimony, the case against David Ditto was now in the hands of the jury. His attorney, Keith Ruffman, was feeling optimistic.
I was confident that we presented the best case that existed and that they had left too many unanswered questions for 12 people to conclude that David just upped and murdered his wife in the middle of the night with his kids upstairs.
Unlike Ruffman, David's sister Maggie was not as optimistic.
After our attorney's closing argument, that's when I felt worried. Our closing argument just was not, it didn't drive the points home.
It took only 1 day for the jury to reach a verdict, and that made David's mother, Pat, very nervous.
I felt that because they came to a decision so quickly, they did not consider all of the evidence.
We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, David Patrick Ditto, guilty of the crime of murder.
Guilty of first-degree murder. The verdict stunned everyone who believed David was innocent.
I never dreamed that they would find him guilty of first-degree murder. I mean, that was over the top.
I was shocked.
But no one was more shocked than the defendant.
I really didn't think there was any way I would be convicted. I didn't think it would be possible to convince a jury of 12 people that I killed her when I knew that it wasn't true, and I knew that some of the evidence, looked suspicious, and I saw some problems, but it didn't prove anything. It didn't prove that I hurt Karina in any way.
Was there a particular piece of evidence or someone's testimony that came to the forefront right away?
For me, it was the medical examiner's evidence.
We sat down with 3 of the jurors.
Zipping these
Francine
little 20-second
Miso
rounds.
found that Karina's injuries told an undeniable story.
Just seeing the picture, of her, just seeing that because that was so objective and, and convincing for me.
Juror Christine Ellis.
I wasn't gonna wait. I was just
Testimony
saying.
about the relationship and everything. I was trying to go on the actual physical evidence that they brought forward, and it just didn't seem that they could possibly be from a fall downstairs.
Are you gonna be gone late tonight?
Nor was juror Patricia Well convinced by Ditto's story.
I found his testimony disingenuous, and it seemed very disconnected from the context of the situation. I was troubled by that. Sad to think that someone went through that kind of pain at the end of their life, Do you believe justice was served?
I do.
Prosecutor Claudine Ruiz says the last chapter of Karina Ditto's life may have ended very differently if not for the first people who stood up for her.
The patient's head was right here.
The paramedics were really the unsung heroes in this case because they arrived on the scene knowing nothing. When they walked in, they immediately knew something was wrong.
Is it possible then he could have gotten away with murder and called it an accident?
He very well could have.
I saw my role in this call as providing care for Karina Ditto. Every person that was involved in this had a part to it. I know that we were the first people to draw attention to it.
This is a tragic case.
9 months after David Ditto was found guilty of first-degree murder,
It's tragic for the victim.
I'm gonna go like this.
It's tragic
I'm okay.
for the children.
Judge Kenneth So sentenced him to 25 years to life. Now 45, David Ditto will most likely spend the rest of his days in prison. When the case against David finally came to an end, Sylvia was back home in La Paz, Mexico, where it all began for David and her daughter.
I felt guilty. Even today, I still feel guilty. Because had I told her to pack her things and leave him, this wouldn't have happened.
As Sylvia looks through a photo album full of memories, she hopes and prays she won't lose touch with the grandchildren she loves dearly, but has not seen since the trial.
It's very difficult when I speak to them on the phone. I can't control myself when hearing their pretty voice. They are not alone. They have a lot of family here, and we love them.
The children are now living with David's sister, Maggie, and her family.
You still have photos of David and Karina in your salon and all over your house. How do you feel about David Ditto today?
I only see him as a son who left. A son who made us feel good at one time. A son who behaved badly. But I have him in my heart. I don't hate him. I forgive him.
You sure you don't need your meds? You need them?
Thank you. Okay.
You want me to tuck you in?
Okay. I'm not gonna fall asleep for long.
Okay.
For sure.
I'll see you later.
Where you going?
If you were on the jury, what would you think of David Ditto's emotional testimony? Chat now on Facebook and Twitter.
What?
Bullshit, his testimony. I'm just being really insincere.
He's stealing an aircraft.
That dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Stop, I'll shoot.
Okay. I wish it, you know, I wish it was myself to be.
He was a brat. He wanted people to
It's really bad.
He had the second largest wagon collection in the world.
Well, I know.
But no, I love you.
Found girlfriends.
I love you too.
Who killed Benji Novak? 48 hours Saturday. On television, online, on the go, and now on iPad. CBS News.
You want to take another night or two?
If you want to, we can.
2 years ago, 48 Hours first reported on a cold
Nothing.
case that would become so hot it rocked the Los Angeles Police Department. Tonight, a final judgment.
Los Angeles, early 1986. It was a brutal time for the victim was beaten, her face disfigured, with blood on the carpet, blood on the walls.
I wish that.
The victim had been shot 3 times at face range. Any one of those 3 shots could have killed him.
There's just such a lack of senselessness.
She was an up-and-coming
You
nurse
know,
director
there's
at
just
the
a,
hospital
so
in Los
senseless,
Angeles,
you know.
and had just recently been married. I'm Joel Rubin. I'm Amber Heard.
What's senseless?
For what? Like,
But what is senseless? What's happening? Why is it going there?
I don't know. I just asked you if you were going to make something a priority and you had a problem with it. And I tried for a really long time to diffuse it.
It never got escalated. It never escalated.
But if I look at it, I look at what you first said to me, the more I think about it, the worse the taste is in my mouth, because I realized, like, I worked really hard to try and keep it cool and, like, what do you want to call it, constructive, and for what end? After I mean, because I asked you if you were going to make something that directly affects me majorly. If it was going to be a priority to you, you had a problem. It seems so tyrannical, or like, you know.
It can seem whatever it seems like to you. I'm sorry. Look, you know, I think you have control issues, and I don't want you to. You can't control every situation, in not just your life, but your husband's life. Everything moves exactly at your pace, or exactly at your time, or this has to happen, or I don't like it, or you've got control issues, and they are upsetting at times. Really, really, something that needs to be dealt with. You know, you want to control things. You want to control me. You want to control. You can't do it. Just can't do it. I'm sorry.
I thought I was asking you if you were gonna make time for something that directly affects our lives, and I thought I was doing so because I know you had a lot else, other things to think about, and you might have forgotten it. But you, of all people, you said you don't want to feel judged. You, of all people, have such a sensitivity to that. You don't want to feel judged.
No, judged. It's
no
about
one does.
prejudged.
But you don't want to be. What I'm trying to say is that you have such a sensitivity to being judged that I think you, of all people, should know how terrible it makes me feel when you judge me and call me a control freak or say I have issues.
I didn't call you control freak. I said you have control issues.
Okay.
You want to control things. You want to control everything. This is not new information for you, Amber.
So this
Come
is
on.
something, I just want to point out that you have a real problem with being called names or being judged. So you, of all people, should know how terrible it makes me feel how you're doing that to me right now.
Talk to anyone, Amber. Come on.
I speak to a lot of people. You're the only one telling me that I have control issues right now, and that you're the person I'm speaking to now. That's why I'm telling you how what you're saying makes me feel. Other people aren't helping you.
I'm
right
sorry.
now.
I'm sorry that it makes you feel.
You don't like being judged, and you're asking me not to judge you. I mean, with the thinnest skin, most sensitivity of anybody I've ever met in my whole life. And yet, you sit here and hurl judgments towards me about my issues because I asked you if you were going to make this a priority.
You have control issues, Amber.
Again, you're just repeating the thing that I'm telling you
But
is
you
making
didn't
me...
know that. You are aware
Again,
of that.
you're repeating the thing that I'm telling you is making me feel bad. So you repeating it...
It's not news to you. You don't pretend like this has never come up in your life
You're just
before.
reiterating the thing that I'm telling... I'm not arguing with you, am I? I'm telling you what you're saying to me is bad. It makes me feel bad, and you, of all people...
Okay, what you're saying to me feels bad.
What, by telling you that you're hurting me? No doubt.
Earlier.
That's all I'm telling... All I asked you is if you're going to make it a priority, and that is giving you full license to sit here and hurl insults at me?
You didn't ask me if I was going to make it a priority.
I did.
You asked me if it was a priority.
Yes, that's asking you if you're going to make it.
To me.
That's
No,
exactly...
not if you're going to make it one.
How are they different? Exactly.
If you have a priority, you have a priority. If you have a priority, you don't have to make it a priority. Because it's a priority already. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's the department, the redundancy department.
Thank you so much for clarifying.
Just thought you should, that's what you asked, isn't it?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Now that really clears it up.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to upset you by saying that, you know, that you have a control issue, but you do, and it really fucks with me at times, and I don't want you. You know, I most of the time go along with your thing just so that nobody's hassled and there's no weirdness. But sometimes I just can't. I can't do every single thing you want me to do at the exact time you want me to do it, and let you know when it's done. And I just can't. It's just exhausting, Amber.
So I'm really sorry I put you through that. I didn't realize that's what I was doing today by asking you if it was a priority.
No, it's just not
But
just
I'm still
today.
really sorry.
It's what you do sometimes.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that you go through that. I must feel really terrible. I'm gonna leave now because it feels really it feels really terrible. It feels really terrible to talk to you recently. A lot, and I don't think I deserved it today. I don't think I did anything wrong, but I'm still sorry, and I'm gonna leave now, and I think it would be best if I just had some space, and I'll let you have your own space too. But I feel really terrible talking to you, and that shouldn't be. And if you have anger issues about me and that have accrued over the years that are coming out, sorry. But I don't think I deserve this. And you insulting me when I'm telling you repeatedly, it hurts me what you're saying. And then that you feel the impulse to just repeat it over and over. It's really sad. Shows me who you are. And you don't like being judged, and you're very sensitive to it. So you, of all people, should know how terrible you made me feel today.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
Police even had sketches drawn of those
No, not really. Gabapentin is Neurontin, yo. Or is that the same as...
I'm sorry?
I always get gabapentin mixed up thinking that that's propranolol. But I don't know.
I have one left, so if there's somewhere that you might have it, I would.
You only have one?
Yeah, only one.
Let's call on the prescription.
I'm gonna call Erin now.
Yeah, she should just, or bring some to you or whatever, but they can definitely call on a prescription. You know?
Yeah, I'm gonna call her. Can I have this Neurontin?
Yes, absolutely.
Let me know when it's cool to come home. I mean, when it's cool for me to come home.
When I'm gone, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be leaving in like 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
You don't have to leave on my account, because I can get out of here earlier.
Earlier? No, it's okay. I'll get some air. I'm gonna hang out with Io and get some air.
Okay, well, I'll be gone in half hour, no later.
Okay. I'm sorry that it.
Me too.
I'm sorry I asked for you to come home like this. I'm sorry.
Hmm?
I'm sorry
For what?
that I asked you to come home and it didn't work. You know, I feel really sad that this is happening.
I do too. I do too. I don't. I didn't want it to turn into anything when I was trying to say that, just let me deal with it, and you'll see that if it's a priority to me, I really didn't mean
I didn't get
anything
upset.
bad. I was trying to, it was almost like I was...
I didn't get upset. What upset me was the things you were saying and how you said that.
No,
And
you
the
gotta...
fact that it was such an issue for you.
You did get
That
upset.
I asked you that question, which seems like a fair question for someone to be able to ask. And I have to ask myself, do I want to live in a relationship where that question means what it did? It should be okay to ask that question of your spouse without judgment.
I would
which
say
is
no.
judgment. I got judgment.
I would
in
say-
nature for it. And I don't want to live in a relationship where I can't even ask a normal question. That's off limits.
Well, you're not in a normal relationship, so
Yes.
that's the problem.
Maybe.
No, what I'm saying is, it's not a normal relationship. You are not a normal person. I'm not a normal person. We do not. It ordinarily it would be a totally sort of like nothing of a question, but because of what's underneath it, the subtext of it, it becomes a problem. And just like me saying, to you that look, man.
Calling someone saying over and over,
What?
judging someone and hurling those judgments and criticisms at them.
What if a doctor tells you that? Are they judging you? I'm not judging you.
Context, you're not a doctor.
No, I'm your fucking partner. I'm your husband. I don't say that shit to hurt you. I mean, say it to fucking help you.
But did it look like it was helping? Did it help? And if anybody, I don't care if you're a school teacher, if you're a kid, if anyone says you're hurting me with what that you're doing, your job is to stop doing that as a person, as a human being. I don't care who you are.
Well, then you really better take that one into your fucking life.
You're
that
right.
one.
This is my issue.
Because when
You're
I asked
right.
you to stop,
You're right.
you don't.
This is clearly, you're right. So then you had permission to do what you did. Therefore, you're not accountable.
I don't have permission to do anything like that. I don't know
Because
what.
I've done something before. Therefore, you're for your blame. See how you deflect responsibility?
No, that's the pot calling the kettle black.
You were
No.
told. See, again, you're doing. You were told repeatedly. You're hurting me with that. That hurts. Please, it's not your place to help me in that way. And even if it were, if I did that to you,
It's not my place to help you in that way. It's not my place as your husband. So then it's not your
Was it
place.
helpful?
Then it's not
Was
your
it helpful?
place.
Did it help? Did it look like it was helping things? Did it help? Were you helping me?
Would you do you think a lie would work better?
Did it help me?
You prefer a lie?
Did it help me?
I
Did
don't
it
know.
look like it was helping the situation?
You don't have to ask me redundant questions. Thank you. I know the answer to that. And so do you. So let's not
I don't
waste
feel-
either one's
I don't
air.
feel like being in that and being called names anymore.
Okay,
and
good.
talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
You get called names or get criticisms or help from you in that way by throwing judgments
What
at me,
names?
hurling judgments at me. If
What
I have to
names were
get
you
that-
called?
If I have to get that every time I talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to talk to you. You're losing me, Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not done already, you're losing me. Really losing me.
Mm-hmm.
You're killing my love for you. And I have to, at this point, with how much you hurt me, and I'm telling you you're hurting me, and you feel it necessary for you, because you're so right and clear in your judgments, and you're so helpful in your criticism, that you need to repeat it over and over again, knowing it's hurting someone.
I didn't use it as a weapon.
Replay it. Okay, then ask somebody. I hope you have all that on tape, because you should really play
I
that.
do have.
Please play it for someone and you ask them if that was a right thing to do.
I will.
But no, it doesn't matter anymore, because if you don't know that, if you don't know right from wrong, if you don't know that that was not okay, or that it just simply is a problem, that's when you feel like necessary to do. It's why it's probably gone. Or
Well, if it's happening and it continues to happen, then you think it's probably gone. So
I'm just saying, you're losing me. And if
Well,
you
isn't-
continue to behave this way,
you lost me. I came back.
Well, I do.
You lost me
Then why are you here? Why did you come back?
because I love you.
That's not having.
And you
lost
can't just
someone.
arbitrarily
Okay, but
change
then
the
you're
rules
right,
to
you're right,
suit your mood, by the way.
Fine, then I lost you. If you want to word it that way, okay, fine. Let's call it goodbye.
Are you kidding?
You did. I lost you. If that's what you want to call it, fine. Okay. I don't care who wins. I don't care.
Well, nobody
I don't-
wins.
I don't care who lost who. I don't. You can be right. You can be the one that like I lost. Okay, that's fine with me. That's fine. All right.
Okay.
I would love if you would just give me this peace for a few days and
We got it.
I'll figure out my. It will take me a while. Rock and Josh are looking for a place, and I might go in with them on something,
Mm-hmm.
But that might take a minute, and if it's okay.
Okay.
Let's separate and want that okay.
Let's do what? Separate and... I can't hear you. Please. Separate and...
I don't know. Stop jumping, please.
I'm just asking the question. What was the other word? I want to know what I'm agreeing to.
Okay, I don't know. Oh, no, I don't know. I just...
It's not important.
I don't know what I said.
Okay.
I think I was
Okay.
scrambling for words,
Okay.
I'm sad.
Me too. space.
We don't have to do anything officially, or we can. I don't really care. Whatever you need. Whatever you need. And I'm sorry if this comes at this time with your mom. I really, truly don't know if it's about that, and if you need something else from me, if that's what really why it's been so terrible, why you've been so rough with me, critical of me, so critical of me, and judgmental of me. I don't know if it's about your mom taking it out on me. I don't know. If it is that, wish you would tell me in some way, so I knew to just pace, you know. But if it really isn't about your mom at all.
I'm sorry that you're miserable, and I'm sorry that I make you miserable. I really am.
Me too.
I really am.
I never expected this from you. I feel really shocked that it's become this. Why you feel so terrible talking to you, why you are so mean to me and critical and judgmental and hateful of me. I've made you hate me clearly, and I don't know why you torture both of us by perpetuating it. If you have such hatred for me, or what, I don't know if I'm your scapegoat, if it's your mom, I really don't know. I want to be here for you, but you're torturing me. And I should be okay to ask you if you're coming to the thing, or if you're committed. It's really not an offense. It's not. And it doesn't deserve this. And I know better than that. I know better than that. I know that what I was sold in you was not that man. It's abusive, it's mean. Sit here and hurl insults or judgments at me, repeal, I'm telling you it's hurting me, and it doesn't matter to you. It's out of context. You're not my therapist, you're not a doctor, you're not even normal. You're a legit crazy person, self-admitted, and you're gonna call me names or say I have issues? Why?
Because I'd like them to go away so they don't hurt us.
What good is it going to do to call someone?
I didn't call you a name.
How are you to judge me? Who are you to judge me, especially when you hate judgment so much yourself?
It's not a judgment, by the way.
It is a judgment.
No, it is not a judgment. It's an observation of something that I've lived with for 4 years.
Okay.
It's an observation, man.
You're right, and you have every right to bring it up at that time the way you did. You were great, and you did everything right.
I would like for you to not have that control issue so heavily and used against me. I would really appreciate it.
It's me that has a problem then, because what you did is totally fine for you. I'm the one who has a problem with what just went on. I'm the one that's hurt. I'm the one that has a problem with it. It is my fault and my problem. You're right, okay? All right? You win. You're right. You're right. I'm the one who feels uncomfortable when I tell someone over and over again that what they're doing is not helpful, not constructive, not appropriate, and not necessarily even fair, nor is it helping. And it is, in fact, hurting me. And I tell you repeatedly, and you feel like you're in a place to do that and judge me and ignore every time I tell you it hurts me?
I'm not judging.
Then you think I'm the one? That's a problem? Okay, yeah, you're right. It is my problem. It's my problem. I guess I don't like that sort of judgment like that.
Nobody does, I guess, yeah. If you think that that's judgment.
You're right. You wouldn't have thought it was judgment. I'm sure you would have been immune to it.
Well, you can freely, sort of prescribe your names upon me anytime you want, and all my weaknesses and all my
I didn't. That's what's ironic.
shortcomings and all my this. Okay, good.
That's what's ironic.
Okay.
A shortcoming. That's you giving that to me. That's what you did. Not the other way around.
We didn't just meet today, Amber. Come on.
I guess I'm just talking about today, excuse me.
Okay, let's cut this short so we don't just continue and hurt each other or whatever, please.
I'm not actually participating in the way you are. I'm sorry. It would feel terrible to you if I sat here and tried to help you by telling you what I
Please,
I wouldn't.
we've been through that a whole lot. I've listened to a lot of your,
Not today yet.
not this morning, not this afternoon, no.
Okay.
No. But I've certainly accumulated a lot.
So
Yeah.
there you're justified in doing what you did. For sure.
Well,
I'm only talking about today. Because I can only mean what I say when I say I'm going to try and change X, Y, and Z thing or I'm going to work on blah, blah, blah. And I can only do those things. And since I have been doing those things,
what things have you been doing?
working on those things and not doing certain things and trying to change certain things.
Hmm.
Hence, last several times we've discussions.
Hence, screaming when I spilt wine accidentally on you for falling asleep and screaming in front of my kids and freaking Jack out. And that's trying.
I would appreciate. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Johnny.
That
Yeah.
fucked him up, you know.
I'm sorry I fucked your son up.
No, it weirded him out. It never.
I'm so sorry I fucked your kids up.
You didn't fuck my kids up, but
I'm
it
so
was pretty
sorry.
fucking. It was pretty fucking weird for him, you know.
Because I jumped up and screamed because I had wine. I'm like, wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm surprised he's send me the bill for the counseling. I'm sure that's terrifying.
I don't need your
No, you're right. You're poor kid.
your clever
Use them against me again.
comebacks.
It's so
No, you think you're
weak.
controlling yourself.
Your character.
You think you're controlling
your
yourself.
character has become so clear, especially when you use them. It's embarrassing for you. I'm gonna walk away now because you're actually making me see you even worse. And believing me, I'm not gonna be calling you at 3 o'clock in the morning after I've had an Ambien and think I'm gonna just fucking forgive and move on. Trust me, it is gross how you're using your kids. I've done nothing but be there for them in a good way. And if you take that for granted, fine. Fine. You're right. Meet a woman who would not jump up and scream if she'd been spilled on 3 times in a row. And I hope you're happy with whoever that is. Because that would be a special kind of fucking person. No doubt. Sorry, it had to end this way. Really. It's not worth it for me. I'm sorry, you're not worth it. I don't think I can love you anymore.
Okay.
Please let me know when you're out. tell me, is it about your mom? Is this something I'm missing that I should know?
No. I don't know what it's about. I don't know.
It's not that. It's not something I'm missing. Like, I should be more understanding as a human, as a wife, that you're going through that. Are you going through something right now? Is that it? Or is that not at all it? Because I don't know if I'm being shitty and not being, and just taking it. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, I'm going through a lot with my mom. And of course, I'm feeling a lot of things regarding my mom's health and the family situation and all that. Of course, feeling all this stuff, and I'm going through stuff with it, and I don't voice it a lot. But of course I am. But
Okay.
I'm
trying to be more understanding, okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, I don't...
It is coming out in weird ways, you know? It's hard to tell.
I'm not using that as my excuse for what we spoke about earlier. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that is all flowing through my veins every day.
Okay.
At every moment. So,
Okay.
if it affects the way that I'm dealing with you and it's uncomfortable, you know, I'm sorry.
I just need to know that that's a factor at all, if it is, because I will try to be more understanding of some shit that would otherwise be, you know, unacceptable or whatever. I'm going to try. You can, of course, do what you want. But I will feel really guilty if I'm not there for you when you need me and you just don't know how to say that is a part of this. I didn't know. I don't know. If I were you, I'd probably be freaking out too, but, you know, if I did weird things that made you feel less than loved all the time, every time we spoke, I was impatient and tyrannical and judgmental of you, I would, every single time, you would go crazy at some point too.
Mm-hmm. But maybe I have gone crazy a little bit.
No, I'm saying that's why, maybe. Look, I'm trying.
I know, okay.
To do the right thing, and I don't
Thank you.
know how exactly, because I feel, I feel this is so unfair, and I'm hurt by it, but also I know that if my mom were laid up in the hospital, I'd be a different person too. And I'm sorry that I didn't. I'm sorry I forget or allow myself to not remember it all the time. Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry for saying things that hurt you. I'm sorry for just having such a negative adding a negative space around you, you know. I'm sorry. That's what I do to you.
I'm here for you. And if you, I'm not gonna kick you out of your own home, okay? Let's just know that it's here. Please tell me, what, of course, out of respect, I'll tell you. If I'm not gonna come home, you tell me.
Yeah.
And I'm not kicking you out or asking you not to come here, okay?
Okay.
I am your wife, still. And I'm here for you if you need me. While your mom is going through these things and you're going through these things, I will try very hard to keep that in mind when I am reacting to what I would otherwise feel is an active attempt to make me stop loving you. And if I didn't know better, I would think that that's what you were intending to do. Recently. And out of preservation or something, I gotta like keep myself alive by protecting myself a little. And if that means assuming I'm only having one foot out of this marriage and one foot in, then it hurts both of us. But your mom is dying, so I don't know if you're intending to ruin the marriage or not, Maybe you want out because you don't like me anymore, which is what it sounds like. And if your mom weren't dying, I would walk away knowing that I was just you didn't like me enough anymore. But I can't leave you. I wouldn't want to be left, no matter what my behavior. If my mom was in the hospital, my dad.
Don't stay with me for that, please.
I love you, that's why I'm with you. I'm saying by not interpreting the signs that tell me glaringly that you don't want to be with me anymore. Out of dislike, resentment, bitterness that you've accrued over the years. I don't know. Everything tells me that those are the things that you feel for me, and I have every conversation we've had recently perhaps to justify feeling like you are trying to make me walk or run. And if you're not, then please do a better job a little bit. Please do a better job of sticking up for this marriage or fighting or doing the right thing or trying. Because that's pushing me away real fast, real hard.
Thank you for saying all that. Thank you for your kindness. I'm sorry that I fucked you up. I'm sorry. We fuck each other up. Want something to drink? Water?
What?
Want water?
Yeah, just a little.
Make sure water.
Yeah, I will get it. Just a little dizzy.
Make sure I'm sit down here. Just, please get in a chair, on the couch, whatever. Here. There's a sneeze unless you want to eat the water.
Let me just get in my PRNs in my bathroom. I think I have like a propanolol or.
You think you got one? I thought you said you had one.
I just took my last one 30 minutes ago when it ain't doing shit. So